All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a concept that, honestly, could completely change how you approach your work, maybe even your life. It's called essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less. So let me ask you, ever feel busy but not productive? I mean, it's a feeling a lot of us know, right? You're just constantly moving, your calendar's a mess, your inbox is a disaster, but when the day's over, you look back and think, what did I actually get done? And that's the core problem, isn't it? We're just drowning in the trivial many. See, essentialism is basically a manifesto against this modern-day frenzy. The author, Greg McKeown, he's challenging us to stop defaulting to more, and instead to get absolutely relentless about focusing on what actually matters. This chart just lays it out so perfectly. You've got the non-essentialist over here, feeling stretched thin, saying yes to pretty much everything, just reacting to whatever life throws at them. And then you have the essentialist, focused, in control, saying no to the fluff and living a life by design. That's the shift we're talking about, right there.
Okay, so this sounds great, right? But what is this way of the essentialist? It's this sort of counterintuitive antidote to all that chaos. Let's break down what it really means.
So here's the official definition. It's a disciplined, systematic approach for determining where our highest point of contribution lies, then making execution of those things almost effortless. So notice, this isn't about productivity hacks or doing more in less time. No, it's about doing only the right things. It's a whole system for figuring out where you can make the biggest impact and then making it super easy to get those things done. And this quote from Greg McKeown just nails it. The art of contribution isn't doing everything, but choosing the right things. Man, that one line, it just speaks to that part of us that's craving a simpler, more intentional way of living, doesn't it?
All right, so how do we actually do this?
Well, it all starts with the first big step, learning how to choose the vital few. And a huge part of that is understanding the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto Principle. You've probably heard of it. The idea is that for most things, about 20% of your effort is going to get you 80% of your results. McKeown tells this great story about a leadership team just drowning in meetings. So they made a rule. Every single item on the agenda had to tie directly to a top strategic goal. If it didn't, it got cut, gone. The result was insane. They chopped their meeting time in half and literally doubled their impact.
This all leads to a really important idea. You have to embrace trade-offs. You just can't do it all. McKeown has this perfect example of an Olympic runner who decided to take more rest days instead of doing more workouts, and guess what? She set a personal record. She got that saying yes to crucial rest meant she had to say no to another training session. And that's, well, it's liberating, right? A super practical way to do this yourself is to create a not-to-do list. It makes those trade-offs real and intentional.
Okay, so choosing what's important. That's step one. But that's only half the battle. Now comes the hard part. You have to actively eliminate everything else. It's time to eliminate the noise. And let's be honest, saying no can be really hard. So McKeown gives us some simple scripts for a graceful no. You can literally just say, I really appreciate the invitation, then state your priority, but I'm really focusing on Project X right now, and then decline firmly, so I won't be able to make it. He tells a story about a Harvard professor who started doing this, and it totally transformed her productivity and massively reduced her stress. It just goes to show, saying no isn't cruel. It's an act of courage. Here's another really powerful filter you can use. If an opportunity isn't a clear, mission-aligned heck yes, then it's a no. McKeown talks about this nonprofit leader who was turning down big, lucrative grants. Why? Because they didn't perfectly align with her core mission. By doing that, she made sure every single dollar was pushing her main cause forward. That kind of ruthless filter, that becomes your compass. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, execution. Because, choosing the essentials and eliminating the rest, that's great, but you still have to do the work. The goal here is to execute with flow, to make it feel almost effortless. The key is setting up your environment and your routines to support your biggest priorities. When you do that, the work just kind of flows. McKeown gives the example of a writer with a simple morning ritual. Look at this. Coffee at 6, journal for 20 minutes, then 2 solid hours of writing with 0 distractions. It's that intentional design that gets you into that flow state, which is really the ultimate reward of all this. And there are a few other powerful tactics to make execution easier. First, build in buffers. Think of it like this. Add about 20% extra time to any critical timeline. That margin isn't waste.
It's insurance. He talks about a logistics company that doubled its delivery accuracy just by doing that. Second, subtract obstacles. Look for things that create friction, like, I don't know, redundant steps in a process, and just get rid of them. And finally, celebrate the small wins. Seriously, tracking tiny daily goals builds way more momentum than some huge, far-off target. So, when you put it all together, what does this all mean? It becomes clear that this isn't just another productivity system. This is about a fundamental shift in how we live and work. It's about finding your path to your greatest contribution. And it's so important to get this. Essentialism is not a one-time project you just check off a list. It's a practice, a lifelong practice of making choices with clarity and courage. It's about embracing less so you can actually achieve more of what truly matters. McKeown invites us to think of ourselves as artists of our own lives. And that leaves us with one final, powerful question to think about. If you start sculpting away everything that's non-essential, what masterpiece will you reveal?